Good afternoon. I'm trying to stop saying, "Hey, everybody." I'm working on it. I'm looking for Tami to get on here. She shall be here shortly. I'm sure she is in the middle of a remodel. I am excited for her. Let's see if I can find her. I don't know where my comments are. There comes one. I have to see Tami. Okay, I've been trying to fix my hair. I've sprayed it. There's Tami. Let me invite her to our little invite to the podcast. Here she comes.
Hi, Marla.
Hey!
Let me see if I can get my phone adjusted. It jumped off.
I
How are
know that
you?
problem. I'm
Yeah,
good.
we've got somebody from Alexander County joining us today. I talked to him this morning about economics in our county, so it was really cool to see Gary Herman join in too.
Well, I know your house is in total chaos right now. You've homeschooled this morning. You're remodeling your kitchen, refinishing your kitchen cabinets, going to put granite down later this week. So, and everything's out of your kitchen cabinets. So I
Yes,
made her send me pictures this morning. I want to live through the chaos with her. So,
yes. Oh, it's so neat to see all the homeschoolers joining us. I love it. I love it. I get emails replies to the ones I send out for you every morning to the homeschoolers, and it's so encouraging to see how they're implementing the 15 minutes or even 5 minutes at a time to bring peace to their house and their homeschool.
well, let me introduce you to everybody. I think most everybody probably knows you,
Maybe.
but Tammy and I go to homeschooling conventions together, and we have been for what, the last 4 years,
Hmm.
3 or 4 years, and it's just we've had a lot of fun. And then I didn't feel good about working with the homeschoolers on an individual basis, so I asked Tammy to do that in our email list, and it's been working out quite well. I see all the replies from
Hmm.
people, and everybody seems excited to have somebody that knows what they're doing. Now, Tammy has homeschooled and is homeschooling. She has homeschooled 6 children.
Hmm.
She has 3 at home now. She has graduated 3 of them,
Yes.
and they're from middle school to elementary school right now. Well, you got one in high
Hmm.
school,
I do. I
so
have
she's
a
got,
junior.
oh my, he'll be graduating before we know it. I mean, just the fact that he's
Yeah.
already driving just gets me.
But he's a good driver. You've rode with him. He's a very good driver.
Well, I've helped teach him too. I made him drive over the mountain one time in my car, a big car, so
Hmm.
big truck. So it's good that kids get to experience lots of different ways. And that boy has probably driven 10,000 miles since
Yeah.
before he got his driver's license with his
Yeah.
permit
Yeah.
in
We've
lots of
had him
states.
everywhere. Hmm.
It's nice to be chauffeured every once in a while.
Yeah, it is. I've gotten used to the perks of having a chauffeur and a cook. I'm going to be sad when he's ready to launch out.
Oh, yeah, he is a pretty good cook. He cooked for us one convention, and he's
Hmm.
he's pretty good. Peppers and onions and hamburgers, and he did quite well. So you are giving your children wings so they can fly. And tell us about your book, Giving Your Children Wings.
Okay, a few years ago, you encouraged me to go ahead and write a book about how I used your system to teach my children during our homeschooling life skills, basically. So when they launch out, they're ready to take care of themselves and their home. They know how to take care of a bank account and take care of their car. And so I wrote about those experiences without losing yours because that's our ultimate goal in homeschooling is to teach them and launch them out there into adulthood.
For some reason, you're pixelating, and I don't know why. That's
Hmm.
kind of strange. Never seen that happen before. Anyway, um, you got a lot of questions this morning. I
Yes.
only noticed one that came in on the post that I made, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll start with that one. That
Okay.
you've got it in front of you because I didn't. I just sent it to you. I did not
Yes.
print it out.
Oh, I wrote it out because I had several. And it came from the UK, and I know there are not as many homeschoolers in the UK as we have in the United States. And her husband is pro school system, government schools. He's not pro homeschooling, and she wants to know about making him see the light as she sees it and wants to homeschool. And so she wants advice on how to convince him that homeschooling is the good choice for their family. And what I tell anybody is they really need to be on the same page with their spouse. Homeschooling is a
Exactly.
big commitment. It's a big time commitment. It's a money commitment because you're buying materials. You're giving up the chance to work, so you're lessening your income. And so I would research the pros, the things that you see homeschoolers doing, getting into colleges, transitioning into the workforce, being productive members of society. All of the young adult homeschoolers that I've had experience with work very well, both in college and in the workforce, because they've been around multiple ages their entire life. When they're in the school system, they're segmented by age. And so they get out into the workforce and they've got 40 and 50-year-old people and they're not used to that. So I would tell her to look for the pros of the things that you see homeschoolers doing well in the UK. Are they self-starters? Do they start businesses? A lot are entrepreneurs because they've had that chance to figure out what they love doing and create businesses. So that's how you would bring somebody around who's reluctant, is look for the good things homeschoolers are doing near you so they can look at it and say, that is a good choice for my family.
You had a lot of opposition when you started
Hmm.
homeschooling
I did.
within the family, not so
Yes.
much with your husband,
No.
but with the grandparents.
Yes.
How did you handle that?
We would invite them over and we would have dinner and the kids would show them projects. We would do a theme night and have them come see what the kids had made that week, or maybe it had been a long unit study and we did a party and studied Kings and Queens. Anything I could do to bring them into what we've done and been successful with was how I won over the in-laws, but it took a long time.
And you may not win over everybody.
No.
I mean, when my daughter-in-law and son started homeschooling 5 years ago,
Hmm.
she called us all in and said, we're thinking, she called Robert and I over and she said, we're thinking about homeschooling. How do you feel about it? And we just said, we're on board. Whatever
Hmm.
you need, we'll be willing to help you with. And this fall, Robert is going to be coaching a debate team with
Yay.
Ethan's age, which is high school age.
Hmm.
And he's gonna be, helping them with moot court and that sort of thing. So he's excited to be involved with young people and to use his knowledge of the law and the arts of
Hmm.
acting,
Yes.
because that's what court's all about. Is just you're an actor. So
Hmm.
he's excited about to step in and be a part of Ethan and his
Hmm.
friends that are in the co-op and working together. So
Yeah.
anything you can do as a grandparent to support your family if they're homeschooling is wonderful.
Yes.
Giving your kids time off to do the things that they need to do. If they work with you, like my
Hmm.
son works with me, he's always doing something with the scouts. These kids are, a lot of the questions we hear are about homeschoolers. They're not socialized.
Hmm.
Can you jump into the socialization of our homeschooling children?
Well, you've met my children and you've seen a lot of the homeschool children at conferences.
Oh yeah.
They engage in conversation and make eye contact so much faster than kids who are used to being in a school situation. They are very social and they want to talk and they have varied interests. And I love to see when a child will ask an adult at conference about whatever their specialty is. I have seen people stop and play violins together because the child was interested in the violin someone had. And it just fascinates me to see how homeschool kids socialize with all ages, from babies to the elderly. they don't really see people in their little age brackets like they do when they're in a school and in their classroom all the time.
I know one year in public school, my son was in a class that had 2 age groups in it. And it was kind of nice, you know, that they got to be around kids that were younger. And Justin was always around older children because his dad coached football. So he was around the football teams, and he just, you know, was always involved with older kids growing up. Now Ethan, he is involved in Scouts. He's working on his Eagle Scout and doing lots of things. Scouting gives them a great venue, but also they just got back from a mission trip where many of the children on the trip, and there were kids, 3 families, and 2 of the families were homeschooled, which was 6 children that were homeschooled, went on this mission trip to help at an orphanage in Peru. And it was through the church. So there's lots of ways to keep the kids involved in outside activities other than a co-op or, you know, just playing sports locally.
Yeah, 4-H is a great one because that gives them experience in a lot of different fields and in public speaking too, and presentation. So I recommend 4-H too because it gives you a social outlet, but it also is a way to build kids and make them confident to go out there and present something that they've studied about. So that's always a fun one.
I bet you didn't know I was in 4-H.
No, I didn't.
And I've judged 4-H cooking contests at our state fair. And one of them was on eggs and another one was on Spam.
Oh, wow.
Cooking Spam.
I don't cook
quite
Spam.
fun a few years. It's really good when you're camping.
Yes.
Canned meats are good when you're camping.
It might be good when I'm without my kitchen for 2 weeks, right?
Hey, you can do it. I've seen you work without a kitchen. You've got an electric skillet and a crock pot and a waffle iron. You're good to go.
I am.
And
I had another
have you got a question?
I did. One of the ladies asked about transcripts for college. And I think we don't look at a transcript as a high school resume, but that's really what it is. It is a compilation of what they accomplished in high school. And you're going to list the year for all 4 years and then put the subject and a grade. And their electives is where you get to be creative. And if they do something like scouting and they get their Eagle Scout, that's a leadership award. If they focus in music and fine arts and theater, that is a fine arts credit that you can give them. And you want it to fit on one page. You don't want it to be lengthy. You want it to be like a resume, short and sweet and to the point. And transcripts are very easy if you keep track of your records and what they study each year. But if you procrastinate, you know what's going to happen.
Yep. We have a friend, Elizabeth and Joe, who put together a thing that it's an app that builds transcripts, which I thought was that's Homeschool
Manager.
What's the name?
Homeschool Manager.
Manager.
Yes.
And it's a neat app that you put on your computer, and it keeps up with everything. She even incorporates FlyLady stuff into the Homeschool Manager. So she has a whole category just for herself.
Yes, she
that
does.
Helps her stay on track.
It does, and it doesn't have to be complicated. But Homeschool Manager will give you the ability to put these little things down where you can see the electives that your kids have done in high school, because you tend to overlook that stuff. You're looking at your core subjects, but you don't think about electives when you're doing your transcript, and that will help you.
Also look at their community service stuff they do through church, going to the nursing homes and spending time with elderly people and helping shut-ins with their yard. I know your boys go mow yards for shut-ins and do wonderful things for people that can't do for themselves. And that's so important when you're thinking about writing all this stuff down. It's community service, hours and hours of community service that they're doing.
Yes, and colleges are looking for that. They know that homeschool children are well-rounded because they do these types of activities. And so they think beyond the box of reading, writing, and arithmetic. You know, they're out there making a difference in communities a lot of times as high school students. So that was a good question about transcripts.
What would you say to to a parent who has a child that's not that they don't feel is going to go to college. You know, not all children are bent in that
Yes.
direction for academia.
Yes.
What would you tell them?
To look for apprenticeships and look for entrepreneurial type things that they can do. You know, my oldest son is a plumber, and he apprenticed his junior and senior years of high school with a licensed plumber who was also a homeschool dad. And it was a very good situation for him to do plumbing during the day and finish his paperwork with me at night, like night school would be. And that was just a wonderful opportunity for him to be ready to be a plumber as soon as he graduated. And you have your nephew, Alex. He's an entrepreneur at heart. And they can start businesses in high school. They don't have to go to college. And they may want to take a few classes at community college for business math and accounting if they want to be an entrepreneur. But they don't have to go to a 4-year college.
The main thing you need to know to be an entrepreneur is marketing.
Yes.
Marketing. And to make sure that you have a good bookkeeper. And that bookkeeper starts with you.
Yes.
But your oldest child, you have one daughter and 5 sons.
Yes.
And what's Ashley doing these days?
She cuts hair for Great Clips in Knoxville, Tennessee. And she has been with them for 7 years since she graduated from community college. And that is what she's always wanted to do. She loves what she's doing. And homeschooling in high school helps you figure that out with your child. They'll figure out fast if they don't like to do something that they were seeking a career in. My son found out he didn't want to be in a kitchen. He didn't want to be washing dishes or cooking at a grill, because in high school he worked in a kitchen in a diner. And that's when he knew he needed to look at other things. So high school can be a time where they can figure out what they love to do and what they really don't like doing.
That's the one thing I did with Justin when he was in high school was he got jobs that he was a landscaper one summer building rock paths and walls and stuff, and he didn't want to lug another rock the rest of his life.
Yes, well, we had a landscaper, and he got out of the landscaping business after a couple of years because it is demanding and hot or cold if you're doing anything in the winter for maintenance for somebody. And he found out, temperatures can go really hot in the summer and humid. So landscaping was not something he wanted to pursue beyond what he did in the summers in high school and what he did during the year. So it's a good chance for them to learn other skills, and working in restaurants teaches them a lot about being kind to people in restaurants, and that you tip your waitresses well and you talk nicely to your busboys.
Oh, yes. I mean, everybody should wait tables once in a lifetime just to know how to tip.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, it's just people can be rude, and there's no sense in it. These folks are just trying to make a living just like you are, and they're doing it the best way they know how. So love everybody. That's the most important thing, is just show people love and kindness. So do we have another question from your people?
I have one who wants to know about fitting in the home blessings, the routines, and the zone missions and laundry, all while trying to homeschool. Sounds like a talk we've done, doesn't it?
You can have both.
You can do it. And it comes down to having those routines in place. You do your morning routine quickly. That's what's back here on my sticky notes. This is our reminder of our routines: morning, afternoon, evening. And once you do that, do a quick zone mission and then sit down and do your homeschooling stuff. When you get up from a subject, the kids can have a snack, you can hit a hot spot. You just have a flow to your day, and you just do a little at a time. You don't halt your entire day because you want to deep clean and tear your house apart. You have to learn to work in 5-minute segments, and you can do it. But it's the perfectionism. They want it all perfect, and that's what trips them up, is they procrastinate. They don't want to dust because they don't have time to move everything. And they don't think about just dusting around.
I've been trying to get my steps in, but I want purposeful steps.
Yes.
And so I will walk around the house getting my steps in with the dust mop.
Yes.
With a mop, and push it in front of me, and I can get lots of stuff up.
Yeah.
And then later on today, I'm going to do it wet, pushing around things. And then I've done it with the feather duster. And, you know, my house looks pretty good. And then yesterday afternoon, I took a wet purple rag and wiped down counters as I walked around. So I would just wipe things as I was going. And your house can, with, 2 minutes here and there, and you can get, in 3 minutes, you can get about 300 steps in, and bam.
Yeah.
You've done 3 minutes, and you've gotten your steps in, and you've polished something.
Yes, and having the kids pick up behind themselves. This is my school cabinet. All their books are kept back here. They're not scattered across the house. They're not on every flat surface.
And the doors are shut.
Yes.
Did you read the testimonial yesterday about the shut doors?
See, they can open and look in there. Everybody knows where their books are.
Wow. That's a great organizational feature.
And then it just closes, and it's just a piece of furniture. I love it.
It just makes it so efficient. And everything's behind closed doors. I know Leanne Ely each child had their own Rubbermaid tub. And they would put it away after school was over, and then they would get it out and sit down at the kitchen table and start working.
Yeah.
You do your schooling at your kitchen table.
Yes, and we eat here 3 times a day, too. So what does that tell you? They're good at picking up.
It has. We all need to learn that little task of picking up after ourselves, because our houses would look so much better when we do that.
Yeah, and homeschoolers, we're here all the time, unless, we're out doing activities, but we're in our homes a lot. That's more potential for kids to make a mess. So it's more potential for them to pick up behind themselves.
Well, let's talk about if you have toddlers that are out and about making a mess while you're trying to homeschool your 3 that are in elementary school and middle school. How would you handle that?
Well, I've talked about homeschooling with babies and toddlers for years because that's where I started. In 2000, I had 3 children, and I was pregnant with number 4, and they were 10 and under. So the baby and toddler is always right here with me. They're either here on my lap, they're sitting beside me in a pack and play. They're not off in another room destroying it. They're wherever I am. And I would move school around the house so that they would have a change in location, but they were always with me. If it was nap time, they napped in their bed. Otherwise, the toddler stays with me and the preschooler. And when they're big enough, I set them up a little spot at the table, and they just color or play or eat Cheerios. They can't make a lot of mess and be too noisy if they're sitting there eating Cheerios.
And they get to go to school too. I love that part of it.
Yeah, and Ben knew his multiplication tables before he was 5 because he heard me saying them for years to the older siblings as we learned multiplication tables. And he knew 5 times 5 before any of the others could even get the words out. I would call it out, and he would give me the answer before he was 5 years old. It was so funny.
Oh, that's cute. That is just so cute.
I know, and now he's 11. How did that happen?
Oh, I don't know. They just grow up so fast.
They do.
Mine's 40. Let's see. He'll be 43 his birthday. It just scares me to death,
Yeah.
That's the only reason I feel old, is knowing that I have a 43-year-old son.
My oldest will be 27, so I don't try to think about that too much either.
No, let's not go there. Let's not go there. So do you have another question?
I do, and this is a really good one because each state has different homeschool laws. North Carolina is very homeschool friendly. I don't have to keep a lot of records. Up on this shelf above, I have 1 notebook with the records for our entire homeschool career. So we're very easy, but this question deals with a state that requires portfolios, which means at the end of the year, they present something to the school board or to a teacher that shows their child's progress and what they did for the year. They have to keep records for 5 years. So this is like the IRS. They have to keep these for a long time, where they can't just purge at the end of each school year. And I would recommend those little plastic tubs that hold the hanging folders and clothes. What would you think about that?
I think that would be a good solution, or just have a notebook for each year. Like with sheet protectors, and that would be the notebook for that year, and just put it up in a bookcase where they can, and have it dated.
Dated by year.
So
Because that is kind of extensive, in my opinion, to have to keep records. But, you have to follow your homeschool laws for each state.
And you got to name your school. So what's your school's name?
Fox Christian Academy. Wonder where that came from.
I have no idea. But it's interesting. Well, my grandchildren go through end of year testing.
Yes.
And I think they get tested at midterm too.
Yes.
Just to see where things are. Mm-hmm. And because Sarah has a little learning disability that she has to be tutored on.
Right.
Learning. Yeah. So it's been interesting to see Emily, my daughter-in-law, learn how to teach Sarah.
Yes. So it stretches you. It stretches you as a teacher and as a mother, because she learns differently than your daughter-in-law. And your daughter-in-law was trained as a teacher.
Yes. Now, all children learn differently. Mm-hmm. We have to figure out what their way of receiving information. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your children and how you figured all that out.
Okay. Well, having 5 boys and a little ADHD going on, we do a lot of hands-on learning. And that way they experience what we're learning. So in history, I will read to them and we'll talk about a time period, and then they'll do a project. As they get older, they read biographies on their own and do reports for me. But as young children, we just go out and reenact history like Paul Revere's Ride. And they learn it by experiencing it. Same thing with science. We do a lot of science experiments. And that puts it in their brain in a way that they remember it much longer than studying and taking a test and moving on.
We have a good friend that we have met at homeschool conventions, Jason, and mm-hmm. he does Hooked on Science. So go to hookedonscience.com. He has an experiment every week that you can do with your children. He has videos. He's been on the Today Show. He's he's awesome. He is just an amazing young man. He's also a weatherman. He's a meteorologist. He and Justin hit it off big time when they got to meet. He's from Paducah, Kentucky, mm-hmm. which is real close to where I mm-hmm. grew up. So we hit it off the first time I met him. So
yes, Hooked on Science, guys. I can't type and talk. I can't put it up here for you. But Hooked on Science, just search for him. He will give you tons of ideas for hands-on science, because that's what he does.
And he has a book too. Mm-hmm. He has a little book too that has some experiments in it, and it's wonderful. So check those things out. Yeah. And don't be afraid to homeschool if you don't know how to do something, because you get to learn right along with the kids. That's what mm-hmm. I have noticed more than anything is mm-hmm. even the adults blossom.
Oh, we do. We do. I feel like I've gotten a better education as a homeschool mom because I've learned alongside them. And I've let them also learn by making mistakes. I will give them projects and tell them what I want the end result to be, and they have to figure it out like a little scientist would, or an inventor. And so it's just a really neat way to watch them learn and for me to learn with them.
I will never forget, a couple of years ago, you were studying American history mm-hmm. and the states. Yes. And you went through all 50 states, mm-hmm. cooking.
Yes.
You call it unit studies. So explain to people what unit studies are and how you utilized a unit study to teach the children about the different states and everything mm-hmm. that goes on in those states.
Well, a unit study is basically like a bus. You're just going to learn everything you can about one subject. So I decided for United States geography, we would do mapping activities, learn about the state bird, the state motto, state flower, state tree in the mornings, and learn a fast fact about it. When did it join the Union and that kind of stuff. At night, we cooked a meal that is popular in that state. So we did 50 meals from 50 states, and we did it all between September and right before Thanksgiving. So it was a lot of fun, and I had a lot of Facebook interaction with family in Minnesota sending me family recipes that I never had. So it was so cool to see how social media pulled us all together for this little study I decided to do. But I will warn you that you do gain weight studying that way because, well, the food around this country is really good.
I had friends this summer who took their children on I think it was about 8,000 miles. They
Mm-hmm.
went out west and then up to Seattle and
Mm-hmm.
back across the country. And they stopped every place and ate. I mean, I
Yeah.
was living vicariously
Mm-hmm.
through their trek with their motorhome.
I
It was
know.
fun to watch. Justin and Emily have friends who sold their house, bought a motorhome,
Mm-hmm.
and he could work anywhere he took the internet with
Yeah.
him. He could work from where they were, and they took a year and drove around the country.
I would love that.
And that was just a beautiful way to teach their children I think they went to all the national parks and saw things, all the state capitals, and
Mm-hmm.
they physically went there.
That
How
would be so
wonderful is
cool.
that?
Yeah. And their kids are never going to forget that. Anytime someone brings up a state to them for the rest of their life, they will have a memory from that. That's incredible. I have a
Yours are going to
question
have, okay,
that
go
popped
for it.
up. Wendy wants to know about the hardest part of homeschooling high school. And if you've never homeschooled high school, you look at that with a lot of trepidation because you think you've got to change everything you've done for the first 8 or 9 years. And really, what I found was when I homeschooled my high schooler the first time, it's a little more in depth and they cover information faster, but it was still pretty much the same. My hardest year as a teacher was when I had to do high school chemistry and teach phonics in the same year because of the age range of my children. And high school chemistry is not my skill set. So I learned right along with that child. I had to barely stay ahead of that child so that I could teach the lesson the next day and grade it. And it was very laborious. So that was the hardest part for me homeschooling a high schooler. There are ways, though, that you can hire tutors. You can find different avenues through your science center for your high school dissection labs. You can find people to do the foreign language that your child may want to learn. Homeschooling high school can be very flexible in terms of how you present the material to them. So I think the hardest thing was just teaching a subject that I was not good at. But we managed and we got through it and we both passed. So
That's a good thing.
yeah, that was the hardest thing in high school with them. Yeah, and I'm seeing some of the things about enrichment classes. There are so many opportunities out there in our local communities for homeschoolers. And I think you can teach virtually any subject between your local community and what you find online that will supplement what you're doing at home.
Well, I know I've been noticing a lot of commercials for Becca,
Mm-hmm.
and we see them at homeschooling conferences with all their curriculum. I mean, curriculum is expensive, and there are homeschooling online that you
Mm-hmm.
can they can actually have a one-on-one
Yes.
teacher
Mm-hmm.
to help them through things. So there are avenues out there if you'll just do a little research and not
Yeah.
be afraid
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, because they're really going to be
I mean,
independent learners in the high school. You're going to guide them and teach them some things that they don't know. But a lot of it they're going to learn on their own, just like they're going to do when they go to college. They have to be self-motivated by that point, or they're not going to do well.
what are some of the reasons people choose to homeschool?
Oh, there's so many reasons on why people choose to homeschool. For some, it's religious reasons. For some, the school system may not be what they want it to be in their community. So many children are bullied today, and I have met so many homeschoolers who just homeschool because their children have been bullied. Kids with special needs do wonderfully in homeschooling because you can teach them in a way that they're learning, and you can set goals for them and not have to rely on the outside teacher to do all that. You can do it, and you can set up therapy and do just the same things that they would do for their supplemental things. It's a wide variety. We chose to homeschool because our oldest didn't learn any math in third grade. In fourth grade, she was not
None?
not able to do any third grade math, let alone fourth grade, because her teacher taught science, history, and art all year. And we didn't know. She was on the A honor roll, but she got to fourth grade and got a fourth grade math book, and she could not do it. And she was feeling like a failure.
My mouth is hanging open. That's
She felt like a failure. And she wasn't. It just, she was not taught. And so we had to, bring her home and catch her up. And it took me about 2 years to get her math where it needed to be. And then we were also dealing with issues with our son being a boy in public school. And when you have a classroom of 26 children, boys are going to touch each other and they're going to be boys. And he got in trouble for
Yeah, they
that
are.
daily. And it wasn't worth his self-esteem to have to go to the principal 3 times in 2 weeks because he was being a boy.
I've been around your boys, and they are very polite, but they know how to aggravate. They can tease and punch buggy and
Hmm.
all kinds of fun stuff that is not allowed in school. But when you're riding in a car and you see a Volkswagen, you're going to do punch buggy. So
Yep. I see a question about motivating kids. And I know what I've
okay.
learned from you with your system, the best way to motivate kids is with rewards.
Did
You
you?
reward them.
I lost you. Somebody tried to call me.
Oh, okay. I'm still here. I'm talking about rewards
Oh, good.
for when they do their routines and when they complete their schoolwork. We like to go fishing, and they know if they get their work done
Oh,
and I've
yeah.
checked off everything, I'll take them fishing for a few hours in the afternoon. Or they'll get to go outside and play, or they'll get to do an activity inside that they wanted to do. I reward them, and that's what motivates them. And if they are giving me attitude, then I also control electronics. I control car keys. I control cell phones. I can take things that bring them joy and happiness till they do what I need them to do. So motivating mine, really, the positive things motivate them. It's very, very rare that I have to use a consequence to take an electronic because they like rewards just like we do. And so I don't think motivating my kids has been an issue because I learned from you to reward them early on.
Oh, well, you're welcome. But kids do work better with rewards.
Hmm.
Everybody works better with you work better with
Hmm.
rewards.
Yes.
I know as far as your mornings, you get up very early
Yes,
because you have a running schedule.
I
You're
do.
preparing for a marathon in October.
Number
Is
5.
it October?
Yep.
Number 5. You've already done one this year.
Yes.
Haven't you done one?
Yep.
Yes.
In March.
Um, so you're preparing for a marathon and you have a running schedule that you're
Hmm.
adhering to. So you get up bright and early.
Yes.
Everybody's still in the bed.
Hmm.
And you get your running, your 8 miles, 12 miles, 13 miles, whatever it is. You went to a big park on Saturday and
Hmm.
took all the kids with you and you ran 13 miles, your
Hmm.
half marathon.
And they
And
fished.
they caught fish
Yes,
too.
they did.
So you get the kids involved in what you're doing
Hmm.
because they get to go with you, they get to
Yes.
root for you, but they also get to have fun
Yeah,
too.
they do. They do. And so somebody asked, they joined late about homeschool routines. I talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
routines all the time in the homeschool newsletter, and I dropped a link earlier in the other one about signing up for your homeschool email because every morning I give them a little encouragement and a mission for the day, and I talk about my zone stuff I'm doing and my dinner. And it all comes back to what you set forth as your zone missions for the week. We take what you're doing and I bring it to a homeschool level. So if we're working on our paper habit, I'm telling them to work through their homeschool papers to get rid of them. This month we're working on laundry. And so I bring all that together and talk about routines in that email every day. So if those of you who are asking about routines, look for that link and sign up for the morning emails because I break it down every single morning, Monday through Friday.
You might get double emails at first, but we'll have to go in and tweak your subscription, what you're
Hmm.
belonging to, because the same emails that go out to everybody go out to the homeschool group too, because
Hmm.
it's getting in your head. We need to
Yeah.
fly wash you just a little bit
Hmm.
so that you can learn the things that Tami learned early on. I
Hmm.
mean, Tammy's been a fly baby since the early 2000s.
Yes. Yes, since the Yahoo group days.
Oh my,
I
that's a
know.
long time.
It is. And somebody asked me about the curriculum that I use. I do try to watch these little questions, but I know I'm not catching them all. I pull together curriculum based on my child's learning style and their needs. I have a dyslexic child who he didn't fit the mold of any other curriculum I used for any of my other children. I had to seek out a particular curriculum for dyslexic learners. And teaching him to read in phonics was not what I had done previously. So I can't say there's a blanket homeschool curriculum I use. I pick something that works for each child's learning style. My hands-on learners have hands-on learning. The ones who learn visually have more books to read than the ones who struggle with reading. The ones who struggle get more audiobooks. So I can't give a blanket answer to curriculum that I use because it really comes down to how that child learns. And if you give a child who can't read well a curriculum that you have to read and fill in the blank, they're going to be a frustrated learner.
Well, let's talk about the unit studies and your basic weekly plan.
Mm-hmm.
I know you are adamant that your week starts out at home
It
on
does.
Mondays.
Yeah.
Tell
Don't
everybody why.
don't go anywhere on Monday. That is the day that sets your tone for your school and your home. Because we all know on the weekends things don't get picked up like they should. Monday morning you do your home blessing. Morning to go to an activity or an appointment, you come home and you're not going to do anything, and then you feel like you're a failure for the rest of the month or the rest of the week because you didn't start out strong. So unless there's just something I cannot change in any other way, we don't go anywhere on Monday. Though next Monday, I do think I've blocked off the day to go see an eclipse somewhere in Brevard, haven't I?
We're having a total eclipse here, and I've invited Tami and the boys up to spend time with Robert and I, and Robert's brother-in-law
Mm-hmm.
and sister. They're coming over. He is a physicist, astrophysicist.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be such a great wealth of information for all of us and he has seen a total
Mm-hmm.
eclipse before. So that's going to be interesting too,
Mm-hmm.
having somebody. We just have to pray for not clouds,
Right.
and not rain.
Right.
I don't know what we'll do. We'll just cook out, I guess, if it just gets dark.
Well, it's going to get
We
dark,
don't
I
get to see.
understand.
Yeah, we're going to have a full minute almost of
Mm-hmm.
total eclipse.
Oh,
So the
that's
birds and the
amazing.
animals are going to go through. Yeah, they're going to go through all of that. You're already teaching the boys about what's happening
Mm-hmm.
when we go see an eclipse. How they can't look at the sun, and we got the special glasses. I
Mm-hmm.
got 20 pair of them, so we're good to go. It's all about making the whole process. I mean, Emily and Justin and two other families just got back from Peru, but before
Mm-hmm.
they went to Peru, they studied the Aztecs, and their
Yep.
school hadn't even really started yet.
Yeah.
They studied the Aztecs. They have learned Spanish this summer,
Mm-hmm.
getting ready for this trip. So they could speak more Spanish than Justin could.
Oh,
He
very
took
cool.
4 years of Latin in high school, so they were learning Spanish, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been they've integrated this into what their family is
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Right.
If they had been in public school, they wouldn't have been able to enjoy
No.
their mission trip, helping people.
Right. And the rest of my week flows from my Monday. So Monday through Thursday, we do all of our paperwork. And the goal is that they know what their weekly plan is for how many lessons to do, have them done by Thursday. Friday, they don't have to do paperwork. We can do hands-on activities, and we can do our menu planning and grocery shopping. So I condense a 5-day school week into 4 for the paperwork. But they can grocery shop probably as good as any adult because I've taken them grocery shopping so many years with me on Fridays. So they've got really good life skills on menu planning, making a grocery list, and then shopping. And so that's what our homeschool looks like on Friday. That's where I get errands. I'm seeing comments. Some people are using Monday as errand day. And it's whatever works for you, but I find if I start that week off strong on Monday, my homeschool week goes really well for the rest of the week. If I start out trying to do too many other things outside the home, it's hard. I feel like I'm catching up with myself. So next week is just
And you,
dedicated to science. That's how I'm looking at it. It's a science day.
it's going to be a big science day all the way across the country.
Yep.
It's going to be huge,
Mhm.
and I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Really, just excited. I've started my menu planning, so I've got my grocery list going for what I'm going
Mhm.
to have cooked for everybody, and so we can enjoy our time together and not be in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
it'll be.
homeschoolers can menu plan and cook together as part of their school day because they're reading, they're doing math, they're following directions in a particular order, so that's higher level thinking. So, I think kids belong in the kitchen if you're homeschooling. I think they need to be right there helping, and even if they make a mess, so what? They're washable, and
Hey,
so is your kitchen.
start out with a sink full of hot soapy water, and you're good to go. You're
Exactly.
good to go. And just teach them these little tips
Hmm.
that I've taught you, and that way they clean as they go, and it keeps things from piling up.
Hmm.
People look at their kitchens as being, they don't want to get in there and do anything with the kids because they don't want a disaster to
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
Well, when you clean as you go, you don't have a disaster. Your
No.
kitchen doesn't explode in front of you.
No. And I noticed one of my ladies that I mentor, Katie, joined us, and she has three young children in homeschools, and they help her in the kitchen by sweeping and by putting dishes in the dishwasher with her. And her oldest is just in second grade. She doesn't have teenagers like I do. And she's taught them to work alongside her, even in the kitchen and picking up and dusting. I see you got your feather duster out.
Well, no, it's not the feather duster. It's the mop handle.
Oh, it's the
And
mop
it
handle.
shrinks down to short. It's
Mm-hmm.
short.
For
It can
kids.
be short for little kids to be able to handle it and not knock something.
Yeah.
It's their size.
Uh-huh.
And they can push the mop, they can push the rubber sweeper,
Mm-hmm.
and they're good to go.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
and they're helping you. And out camp.
Mm-hmm.
I know at Girl Scouts, everybody had a job when it
Yes.
came to mealtime.
Mm-hmm.
It was called caper duties, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody set the table, and they were in charge of bringing the bowls of food out, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody raked all the plates and put all the scraps away into the recycle bin,
Yes.
and all of those things were done. Everybody had a job.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody swept, somebody wiped the table off, somebody washed dishes, somebody rinsed dishes, somebody dried
Mm-hmm.
dishes, and then somebody put the dishes away, because
Yeah.
it's just like with laundry. Until they're put away, it's not
No,
done.
you're right. You're right. And homeschool moms get this idea they're supposed to do everything. And they need to delegate because their children need these life skills and they need
All
the help.
moms do that.
Hmm.
All moms feel that way, that they have to do it all. When you got 3 or 4 little ones running around, you got a little army.
Yeah, you do.
And you're the general in charge.
Yep.
You can direct this little traffic
Oh, you can.
going and doing
Hmm.
things.
Yep. I'm reading a question about how to homeschool if you have a full-time job. Cynthia, that would depend on the age of your child because they're going to need some supervision while you're at work and a good support system. I know lots and lots of people who homeschool who work full-time, and they either have a flexible schedule with their spouse or the grandparents help. And they can use computer programs where the grandparents or the spouse is not doing the teaching, they're using the computer program for that. But you have to have children who are independent learners enough for somebody else to help you along the way. I work part-time from home, so I'm always here with mine and can oversee them working. But working full-time outside the home when homeschooling is going to take a good support system and somebody working
Unless you're
alongside you.
working a swing,
Hmm.
unless you're working a swing shift and you're home during the day, and then somebody takes over and you go to work in the evening.
Yeah,
But then you got to sleep sometime too.
exactly. Exactly. So when I waited tables a few years ago, I did it second shift when my husband was home. We homeschooled in the morning. So there was really no problem with me working outside the home and homeschooling, but I was not here in the evenings when he was home with them. So you have to figure out how to work that schedule to homeschool and work full time.
What's the first thing you do, and what time does your school start?
My school starts around 9 a.m. I would say flexible 9 to 9:30 because everybody does their morning routine. When I get home from my run, I get in the shower, they eat breakfast, get dressed, and brush their teeth. Because if they brush their teeth or get dressed before they eat breakfast, syrup and waffles is not a good combination.
No.
But they put their shoes on and they go out and check the animals. They have a routine and they know to be finished between 9 and 9:30 because I have one who's a little slow starter in the morning, and that's okay. He doesn't have to start at 9 o'clock if he's not awake enough. That gives me time to work with the two younger eager beavers who are ready to roll at 9 o'clock. So we have a routine where they know what the next thing is. We're not really guided by that clock so much as they know to get up, do their morning routine, and be ready to do school with me.
And they're dressed to lace up shoes.
Yes, we are. Every day. Every
What's
day.
the first lesson the two younger ones do?
The two younger ones get out their math DVDs. And we found a few
start
weeks
their
ago that it's hard to have one laptop and two people needing to do math and me needing to work. So we worked on that. But they do their math DVDs, and then I go over their work that they just did with it, answer questions if they struggled with long division or if they struggled with some of the algebra that the middle school one is now doing pre-algebra. I review that with them, and then one will go read and I'll do spelling, and then they switch. And then I'll give writing assignments and additional reading. Then they'll move into science and history. And then at the very end, we all come back together and I look over what they did for language arts, reading, science, history, and then I'd already looked at math. So it all comes together usually by lunchtime for us because they know just to keep doing what the next thing is. They can get up and get water. They can go outside for a few minutes and move in between subjects. But they learned a long time ago not to disappear for 30 minutes at a time in between subjects because then they lose their playtime in the afternoon because they're sitting here at the table with me working.
Schoolwork becomes their worst nightmare when it's cutting into fishing time. I understand that.
Exactly. It's cause and effect. So they've learned they can go out and shoot a few baskets in between reading, but they can't go out and be gone for a long time. So they've learned a lot about self-motivation and keeping track of their time so that they're done by lunchtime.
I know your recent high school graduate, he graduated in April.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because we start August 1st. We don't like to wait till Labor Day. We like to get going so it can be done. Spring is much nicer than August, It's too hot to play much outside right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So are there any other questions? We got a few more minutes. And
yep, I'm watching some of these roll by. Somebody had mentioned, I think when I did an email last week about using the timer. A timer can be your best friend if you have a child that dawdles. The child that sits down with the math sheet and they take an hour and a half to do something that they could have done much faster.
Yep.
Use a timer and tell them, you've got 5 minutes to do this part of the sheet. If you don't get it all done, that's okay. But let's try to see what you can get done in a focused amount of time. If you just give them a math lesson and they're a dawdler, they can sit there half a day. Use that timer. They like to play beat the clock. And you'll find that they're much more apt to finish a subject fast if that's their personality to not get onto it. Just turn that timer on in a positive way. Don't use it as a negative thing, but say, let's see what you can get done in 5 minutes. And I tell mine, I know you can do all of this. It's just a matter of having that focus.
Well, I know when Justin was in school in first grade, his teacher would give him 27 problems, and he had a minute to get them.
Yeah.
And it scared him to death.
Yes.
That was just wrong. They don't know what a minute is at 6 years old.
No, they don't.
So, but having a timer that you're doing 5 minutes, and it can be, sometimes you can have a game to see how many they can get done.
Right.
And, and then when they get done, they hit a buzzer and stop it, and it becomes a game with them, and they'll see how many they can get done. but you can't scare a kid with a timer. You've
No.
got to do it lovingly.
Yeah. And that's how I do it. I build mine up and tell them I know they can do this. And I'm, I know what they can do. And that's how we use the timer. We don't use it as a negative, but we use it to say, I know you can do it in this time frame. You just need a little bit of motivation. And for the child that's visually distracted, I had put up those little science display boards at the end of the table. So he didn't see all the movement in the room because he needed the visual stuff cut down so he could concentrate on his paperwork. And as soon as he finished whatever he was trying to do, whether it was writing or math, he would take the little board down. But I found out quickly that if he tried to do his math with everybody sitting around him, he couldn't focus because he was just visually distracted.
One of those trifold boards.
The science display boards, yep.
That's a brilliant idea. It's like everybody being in their own little cubicle.
Yes, and it was short term. It was just till he finished the lesson. But we had to find a way to cut down on the movement in our house because with 6 kids, we're kind of busy. We don't sit still very well. I'm sitting on my bouncy ball right now trying not to bounce on my chair.
Work on that core strength.
It's better for my hips and my back to sit on this ball than an office chair. So that's what I have, but I have to remember when I'm on camera, don't bounce.
That's cute. That's cute. Well, do you have any last minute tips for the families that are looking into homeschooling and are already homeschooling?
I encourage them to look at your homeschool resources. You have a homeschool teacher control journal, homeschool student control journal that they can download for free. And most of them probably don't know that that's even over there. And you link to my blog from that page, you link to your email list, and I think you also link to Homeschool Manager from that page. So your homeschool resources page has a lot of information for homeschoolers. And I consider anybody that has children at home, you're really a homeschooler at heart because you are teaching your children. You may not be teaching them during the day, all day long in the school year, but you're teaching them when you have them at home. So check out those resources on your page because I think that you've got a lot of wonderful things set up on that resource page.
Well, and also download the Camp Gonna Wanna Fly control journal.
Yes.
Because that's all about unit studies. That's all it really is taking a subject, and like next week, you're going to be dealing with eclipse and why the sun is becoming eclipsed because the moon, a full moon, is passing in front of it. So do the relationship between the sun and the moon and the earth and all of those things. That's a unit study. That is a wonderful way to get the whole family involved in learning what's happening. And if you're within 200 miles of this eclipse path, it would behoove you to take your children and go see it because it's going to be fun. It's going to last for a couple of hours. And, at the totality, it's 3 minutes of darkness.
Right.
But it's an hour coming to that totality, and it's an hour passing past it. So it's going to be fun. I mean, I'm excited.
Yes. I saw 2 questions I want to hit real quick. Homeschooling special needs. I saw a question. Google homeschooling special needs. You will find special needs homeschooling. Heather Laurie in West Virginia. She has a ton of resources because it's very specialized depending on what your child's need is as a special learner. And then somebody was wanting to know if this would be available on the replay later.
Oh, of course. I always upload it to YouTube and I put it on our website. So just scroll down to the bottom. If you don't know how to get to our videos on our website, scroll down to the bottom of our homepage, FlyLady.net, and you'll see FlyLady Radio, not FlyLady TV, but FlyLady Radio. And I divide them out by the month. So you'll get to the main page and just click on August and you can find it. But it takes a few minutes for me to download it. It'll probably be up within the hour. So after we get through here.
And they can scroll on the Facebook page and play it.
Yeah, they can click on the videos and see it there.
Yes, they can. So,
Well, thanks for helping our fly babies with homeschooling. They've been asking a lot of questions,
yes, they
and
have.
I just felt like that it was a good time to jump in with school starting
Yes,
back and with the eclipse happening and
I know.
having fun with it. So I appreciate everything you do, and blessings on your kitchen being all torn apart.
Yes, I'll come eat at your house next Monday while my kitchen's not functional.
How long is it going to take them to get your countertop in?
They told me 2 weeks, so we'll see.
Well, you just put one of those folding tables up in
Hmm.
your kitchen, and that way you just start your kitchen. You know how we do when we're
Yes,
traveling.
I do, and
Make your makes. Make,
I've done it in a hotel room, so
we can cook. Have waffle iron. We'll have breakfast. So
exactly. Well, I've got a frog, so you have a great afternoon. I've had so much fun, and they can keep posting in the comments. I'll try to check back later today and look for more questions.
okay, I'll talk to y'all later. See
Okay.
you Thursday.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.